How do you actually price up your products and services? I really want to challenge you on that. How do you go about pricing up whatever it is you sell? You're a business owner, you sell a product, a service, or a product and a service. Doesn't matter what it is. What's your thought process? And the reason I want to challenge you on this and help you unpack it and understand it is because if you actually look at your business model, I suspect, I would hope, that you want to make a profit. And somewhere along the line, you want to make more profit. You want to get gooder at doing your thing. You want to make more money. And if that is true, if you were to just do a very simple spreadsheet or calculations on a piece of paper with a calculator and a pen, if we brought it all the way back to the thing that you sell, the product or service you sell, you'll probably have a product or a service and you sell that for a price. You might have more than one product and service. Lots of businesses do. Imagine being a supermarket. You have thousands of products. But you can probably categorize the products and services that you sell into small, medium, or large. You can have a different category. You might have them as online sales and offline sales. You might have a service business and a product. You might sell products over here. You might sell a service over here installing the product. You might have a design fee service. So you might have a particular design. You might be an architect and therefore you do small extensions and great big full-blown houses. But you might also offer a supervision service after you've done the drawings or whatever, right? There's all different levels of service and products you do. I've got a client who does design, but they also get involved in procurement. Not all the time. So they have design work, small, medium and large, and then they have procurement, which is another thing in and of itself. And as you break all these services down into their group section, you'll discover somewhere along the line there'll be a pricing structure. And that's what this video is about. That's why I asked you to think about it. Where did you get the price from? Because this price of the thing determines, quite simply, your sales for the year. And let's take this through. If you had a number of these things and you sold 10 and you sold 20 and you sold, I'd be really boring and go 10, 20, 30 or whatever it is, and you sold this number of things, service or product, at whatever these prices were, and maybe it's sort of like that. So you've got small prices, medium prices and large prices because there's small, medium and large products or whatever. As I say, you just think about your own business. Is that times that is going to give you an annual sales figure. So is that. And so is that. So those three products in this example are going to give you an annual sales figure which says, okay, that's my sales for the year. Okay, my sales. And if we rub that out a minute and we put our costs and we deduct our costs from there, we end up with the magic figure, which everybody should be thinking about, and that is the profit, because it's the profit after tax is what feeds you and your family, right? So this profit figure is really important because it determines your next holiday. It determines the new kitchen. It determines whether you move house next year. It determines the money needed for your children. That is why you're in business, to make a profit. And the profit figure is directly linked and created from two figures, sales and costs. Now, we could do a whole video on costs and whether or not we could save costs, be more efficient at costs. And I probably will do another video on that. We can talk about automation and efficiencies and time management and yada, 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 yada. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to reduce your costs. But the thing about costs is you can only ever reduce them to zero so that you have no costs. But the thing about sales is it's infinite. You could take sales to whatever level you wanted to. So the relationship between sales and costs is really important. Plus also the relationship between sales and costs is critical because sometimes without the cost, you can't do the sale. Sometimes costs are so important, it keeps the whole thing running. All right, we'll cover that in another video. But if we accept that costs are costs, sales are driven by these component parts up here. And when I talk to people and I say, oh, what do you charge? And they say, oh, I charge this. And how did you calculate that? Oh, it's our hourly rate. Great. Or it's our daily rate. Great. Or it's our whatever. As we dig into that and ask, where did you get that price from? It is not uncommon for people to say, when I started in business, I was working for Charlie down the road and Charlie used to charge this. So I thought, I'll charge the same as Charlie. Or worse, you know what's coming? I'll be cheaper than Charlie. And so you set the price cheaper. Now, I've been an accountant for 35 years and I've worked in the accountant space and done lots of work within the accounting industry, won awards, done coaching, talked to lots of accountants, spent time with them. And I can tell you in the 35 years that I've been in the accountancy industry, the price of accountancy fees have gone down and down and down. The jobs that I charged for back in the 1980s were this price. Today, the very same job is now this price. And the reason for that is this is what accountants do when they pick up a job. Hey, Mr. Client, yes, I can help you with your accounts. Oh, how much? 1 minute. Have you got last year's accounts? Yes, I've got last year's accounts. Oh, last year they charged you £2,000. Tell you what, we'll do it for 1,500. Relationship moves on. Guess what? The next guy does it for 1,000. The next guy does it for 800. And so it goes on. And if you take that across the whole industry, what you get is a whole profession that has completely devalued what it charges based on each person asking what the other person was doing and coming at a lower price. Accountants are rubbish at sales and marketing, rubbish, generally. And as a result of it, they will always try and undercut the guy before and do it for cheaper. Okay, now, particularly if that person has got a different structure. If you go after a job that's run by a big firm of accountants with a big office and you run your accountancy service from home, of course you can undercut. You haven't got the overheads, back to the costs. You can run your structure completely different. Doesn't mean to say it's right. Because what happens is this price that you choose here for the thing that you sell absolutely and directly impacts that sales figure. And what a lot of people end up doing is they set the price and put it like almost in stone on a tablet. That's the price we sell for this thing. And now all the focus is on how many can we sell? Can we get more sales? The biggest thing that people say to me, clients say to me, prospects say to me is, all I want to do is work out how I can get more sales or how I can get more of the same sales more consistently, which is another way of saying I need more. I've got 12 months of the year. Last year I did 8 customers. I want 12. Okay? They just push. More. Sell, more. Just have a look on the internet on anybody who, anytime you Google anything about sales and marketing, you will get an inflood of communication. Probably your emails are coming in. I can get you 20 leads this week. Yeah, of course you can. Right? But can you get me the right leads who are going to pay the fee that I want? That's the question you should be asking. Now, you may be in a business whereby this price structure is a little bit set in concrete by perhaps the industry. Maybe the people around you are all charging the same amount of money. It is actually very difficult to justify that you want to charge more. But we know it's going to have effect over here. So, is there another way that you can price up your work and your services? This is where becoming a little bit more creative is something that you need to think about. So we talk about this to our clients as something called a doohickey, right? A doohickey is a thingamabob. It's a whatchamacallit. And what we end up doing is, not for everybody, but this is what we try and help people realize, is that you could also have a box over here with your doohickey or your thingamabob over here. And that is sold for this amount of money. And the thing about it, because it's a doohickey and a thingamabob, it's uncomparable to something else. If your small product over here is sold at a price and 20 other people in your industry sell the same thing for the same price, you're commoditized. How much do you charge? Charge this much. Well, the guy down the road charges that. Well, I'll just go to the guy down the road. What's making you different from the guy down the road? So here's an extreme example. Let's use a plumber as an example. A plumber comes in and says, I will fit your bathroom. I'll put a new bath, new sink, new toilet, and I'll retail the whole thing. The price is, I don't know, £10,000. Could be more, could be less, right? You get a quote from the plumber. You get a quote from somebody else. The guy down the road says, I'll do it for 7. You've got one guy saying you can have it for 10. The other guy saying for 7. And you're going, well, I'll pay 7 and I'll use the 3 grand and go on holiday. What would you do? Or I'll use the 3 grand for something else. I'll get it for 7. Great, I got a deal. I got it for 7. Okay, well, 2 things that could be wrong with that. Number one, the 7 guy might not be as good as the guy who charges 10. And you get a lovely bathroom, but might not matter to you, but it's not to the quality or to the standard. That's something to consider. That's why you should consider the higher price for the quality. However, how can those 2 plumbers who are charging similar amounts compete with each other? How can the 7 grand guy go along and say, well, I'll now charge 12? Okay, well, actually, you package it differently. So the plumber could say, we'll come along and we'll do your bathroom. It's going to take us a week to do. But in order for us to do that in the week with the least disruption, you, the homeowner, need to be moved out of here. We want control of the place so that we can get in and do it. Because while you're here, living here, we've got to pack up at the end of the day. It's far better you're out the way. We can come in, bosh it out, get it done and deliver it. So what we're going to do is we have a hotel booked for you in the south of France. You've got your plane tickets, we've got the transportation. We're going to take you and your family and we're going to take you on an incredible holiday and we're going to drop you in this holiday. We're then going to sort out this bathroom. But while we're there, we're also going to do a complete inspection of your house. We're going to do an audit of everything that's going on in your plumbing world. We're going to fix all the things that we can to make your house absolutely future-proof. But at the same time, we'll look at this for you and we'll look at that for you, but you will get your bathroom sorted and everything done. And when you arrive back, not only will you have the bathroom delivered back, but the place will be spotless. We're going to get some professional cleaners and we're going to clean the house from top to bottom so that you come back to what effectively is a sparkling brand new house. And that's our package deal. So that package deal then becomes, instead of in this example, £7,000 to £10,000, that becomes £20,000. Right? Plumber's happy, he can do his job really efficiently, so the plumbing bit, he'll actually make more money, and the increased cost covers all the other costs, etc., etc. Well, number one, that as a product is pretty unique. Do you think people would talk about the plumber? Yeah, of course they would. Wow, plumber paid for a holiday for me. Brilliant, fantastic. But number two, you're probably thinking, yeah, but I wouldn't pay that. Yeah, but the guy down the road won't pay that. How can the plumber sell that? Well, this is where it all comes into it, because it's easy to sell this cheap product down here because you're competing with everybody else and everybody's looking for cheap. But if you take something that's unique, there will be a small subsection of the population that will buy that will go, that's pretty cool. I was dreading getting the plumber in because he's going to have the plumbing, we're going to have no hot water. I love a shower in the morning. That's why I don't want a plumber in, because it's a mess. I just don't want the mess. But actually I really could do with a holiday. I mean, I just write you a check and it's all done. Yep, all sorted. We've got a car to take you to the airport. The other end, you've got a car. We've got a hire car. Everything is done. It's the best holiday you've ever been on. Now you're buying the holiday with a free bathroom. Now you're getting rid of all the inconvenience. There will be people who will look at that. All that means then is you've got a marketing problem. How do you sell that? Well, instead of selling this thing over here for 7 and 10 grand and selling 10 of them, you only need to sell, maybe, I haven't done the maths here, but you need to sell less of those. All right? You need to differentiate what you do. That's just a crazy example. We can do this with all sorts of things. We just have to be creative as to what that doohickey is. We've taken musicians who sell music and songbooks and t-shirts and concert tickets to selling musical walking holidays. Okay, we've taken people who have done hourly rates or project rates. So somebody who says, I charge a daily rate and it takes generally 6 to 12 weeks. We've got a 6-week program, a 12-week program, but we do X number of days for the program. We do a daily rate. Stop doing a daily rate. this is our price for our 6-week program, this is our price for our 12-week program. It's completely different. And the reason that we can differentiate that from the daily rate is that here's what you get, which is what everybody else gives you for the daily rate, but we also supply this, 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 and this. It's included in the price, so much so that you can't actually get a price breakdown. If you've got clients that say to you, oh, give me your quotation and then give me your price breakdown, they're looking for every single bit, especially in the building trade. They want to save money. It's like, oh, come on, guys, we got to get this done. Now, I get that. That's the conversation you're having. I understand it's not easy. But all I'm saying is, if you don't think differently about how you price things, if you don't think differently about where you got your price from in the first place, if you don't think about how the quality of what you do versus the price that you charge, if the quality and price are a bit mismatched, if you're undercharging because you don't believe your prices can go up, all of this single price here affects your sales directly. And the biggest impact we can do for clients is to get into those numbers and change those numbers. A 10% increase, 10% price increase generally generates another 30% down in profits. That's just maths. But it's because we're actually focusing on this bit here, the price that you choose for your thing. Because if you get that right, it could even change the number of things that you need to sell, which means your sales and marketing process becomes a whole lot easier. You get some time back and you make the same amount of money or more. That's the concept. I'd love to hear your comments on this. I'd love to see your suggestions, because I know that I've not covered all of it. I've just picked a few things to pick on. I'm just ultimately getting to this sales figure from the thing that you're selling, and I'm suggesting doing something a little bit different. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me the bits I'm wrong, and I'll come back at you and see if I can expand this conversation and help you a bit further. And if I can help you increase your prices somehow and you can get more sales and more profit, happy days. Anyway, see you in the next video.